Hi guys, so this is going to be your full moon in Pisces, Sun in Virgo with a Mercury retrograde transit coming up so the Mercury transit is going to be retrograde starting in Libra and finishing in Virgo at the same time that the Sun is progressing from Virgo to Libra as we come close to the fall equinox for the Northern Hemisphere, spring equinox for the Southern Hemisphere. And you'll remember that the last thing that we brought up in the last video with the Virgo new moon was the concept of balance and how that was different for dual signs or mutable signs than it is for cardinal signs like Libra. I have a feeling in this reading what's going to be coming up is more about that concept of balance, how balance shows up in Libra, in Venusian signs and Venus, how it shows up with the Mercury retrograde, and how it shows up with the cardinal signs as we're moving from mutable to cardinal, the changing energy, right, that holds that space between one thing and the other, one fixed thing and one cardinal thing, holding kind of that space of those both, and then moving into something that's starting a brand new fresh energy. And in Libra, that's really almost like the ending, right? Before Scorpio is the symbol of death that really finishes it off before the winter begins. So, and what is Libra beginning? It's beginning that new season. It's beginning that colder, decaying energy. And if you think of it in like the tarot, the Justice card comes before the Hanged Man and death. It's almost like Libra is, out of the cardinal energies, the final say, right? And then Capricorn is almost like this, how do I want to put, like the final judgment, I suppose you could say, with the Devil card in the afterlife. But it's like Libra is like the final say in this realm. And so I think you might see that during this transit, a lot of things are going to be wrapping up in terms of, how do I put this? Like, if you've noticed imbalances in how people treat each other in relationships and how people treat each other, and especially with Virgo and Libra kind of interacting here, probably in labor and workplace situations, to some extent family too, because there's an edge of service that comes with, for instance, the parent and child relationship. So, you know, if you're somebody who's dealing with, these are just like spitballing examples, but like, let's say you were in a custody battle or something. I have a feeling something more practical is going to come up like that. There is a Venus ruled sign involved here with the Mercury retrograde. So, and because Mercury retrograde causes you to come out of that rational mindset and into your intuitive self and really analyzing your emotions, your patterns. I have a feeling what's going to happen is, because we're in this practical sign of Virgo for the solar season, for the zodiac season, and we've got Pisces going on and Libra, which is an air sign, but it's also ruled by Venus. We're going to be seeing a balancing between rational ideologies about justice, practical execution of fairness and balance, and also the emotional side of things, like what is fair in terms of heartbreak. I saw like a broken rib bone while I was looking through the bones earlier, because I was going to use that later. And I have a feeling that that's going to be the emotional side of justice, right? Because justice is supposed to be rational, but, you know, we can't really say that we're ethical beings if we don't even take into account the emotional toll that injustice takes on people. So maybe for you personally, you don't have any injustices going on for you, but you might be watching, for example, on the collective level, if you're watching the news, and injustice happening in your community or on a global scale, and there might be a cause you care a lot about, something around these themes. Maybe there's like a humanitarian thing you care a lot about, that emotional factor, not to manipulate and not to you know, lose sight of rationality, because you're going to be in that balance still, but taking into account for sure emotional trauma, and damage is caused by injustice. Why do we care about justice at all? Of course, we want the execution of justice to be rational, but the reason why we care about justice and we have a justice system is because injustice often breaks people's hearts and souls, right? It's a very hard thing to go through, feeling like somebody isn't being treated fairly. That's hard to talk about if people are used to justice being almost like a petty thing, like, oh, I didn't get what I wanted, right? So I'm gonna cause a stink. Well, sure, there's a lot of that, but I think that that's why that rational counterbalance comes in, to kind of try to mitigate that factor, but we do still have to take the soul into account. And so I think what this is going to be probably about is seeking to honor people's experiences, the pain they've gone through, healing that comes from justice being served the right way, and reflecting on our own triggers, right? Our hair triggers, especially the things that make us feel like that's not fair, that's making me upset, and figuring out, you know, through a lot of internal discernment, what is an egotistical reaction and what is just genuinely like, okay, this is offending my conscience, you know? I think that's what people are going to be discovering, you know, what kind of pain is an ego bruising and what is, you know, truly soul splinteringly bad. And that is a concept that shows up in shamanism, is soul retrieval, this idea that certain things, if they're evil enough, that happen to a person can kind of make the soul feel shattered, and you have to reintegrate the soul after going through something like that. I have a feeling that with, you know, the dark and light coming to balance with the upcoming in a few weeks, equinox, I have a feeling that that exploration of the shadow and the bringing truth to light is going to be that balance there. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead and get right into the tarot. Let's see what Spirit has to say about all of this stuff. Spirit, some messages about Pisces full moon. Let's start with the Pisces full moon. Oh, Judgment. Oh my gosh. And then Two of Pentacles. I'll take them both. Okay. Yeah, and there's that balance, right? In some versions of the Two of Pentacles, and other versions it's the Six of Pentacles, depending on what deck you have. Sometimes it'll show the same scales that the Justice card has. And so that's pretty interesting. The Sorcerer. Okay. And on the back of the deck, we have the Three of Wands. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so far. I do believe this is Temperance. And then we have the Chariot, the Two of Pentacles, and Judgment. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and actually, because I was gonna maybe do the reading it first and then do the clarifications. We're opening up to the I think that's the King or Knight of Wands there, and then yeah, no, that's the Knight of Wands. Oh, sorry. Come on. Newer deck, so it's having a hard time. It's a little bit stiff. Okay. Okay, that's the Hierophant. Okay, it's kind of jutting out a little bit. Nine of Wands. I like that the art's a little bit different in both of these decks, so that it like kind of makes you feel like you should. Let me just make sure that that's showing up on the screen. There we go. And then oh, Strength. And just like for Mercury retrograde, I suppose, is what we're nothing coming out yet. Five of Sea and the Six of Sea together. And then Demon Cat. I'm supposing that's the Devil. Yeah, that is the devil. Actually, this might be the devil too, but it's showing up with like a very temperance type energy to it with the cup and the sun and moon there together. But with the snake, it might be the, I think because that's the number, that's the same number. I think that's, yeah, anyway. So, right, because it does end in that signature root number of 5 with 15. Okay, so, although sometimes they change the numbering, it's a very different deck. I don't know what order they did things there. So, yeah, so we've got the devil twice. But in this deck, it's showing up like temperance. And I like that in this one, it's almost like, oh gosh, we talked about this a little bit in the last video too with demonizing. And then we have the strength card here. And notice that, because there are like different color cats here. And this is like the same cat. And here it's like, this cat has like these 3 birds on it, not even trying to eat it. And then in this one, the cat is, the bird is dead. And this is like almost a feral cat and a domesticated cat, but it looks like the same cat. What I like about this is I feel like this is what I was talking about with that dark and light, the shadow and light. And it's like, this is the cat acting from a place of, okay, I'm domesticated, I'm fed, I don't really need to eat these birds, I'm behaving, I'm just enjoying their pretty music, I like birds. And then this one's like, but I have this deep hidden instinct to want to eat the bird, right? And it's not even so much that this cat is evil or bad or has terrible intentions. This is just a natural feeling that arises because this is a cat. And I feel like for a lot of people, when they feel like there's no justice, there's no balance with the temperance aspect of this card, even though this is a devil, I think. I feel like, because I don't think this deck really has a devil card because of the vibe of what they're going for, but it's basically the same concept as the devil in terms of the ordering of things. I think, and I remember when I was looking through this deck, oh yeah, no, they're both here together. Right, so this is going from feeling like, you know, the instinct is, I can't swim, I'm fearful, right? So that's another shadow emotion is fear. It's like, I tried to get these fish, but I can't. I'm terrified of water. I'm a cat, right? And then these cats are like, nope, we're good. We're swimming. We can handle anything. And then there's like a tiger in the background because tiger in the painting there. And it's like tigers are known for loving to swim. And it's like finding that inner, through like healing that shadow, that feral aspect, you get in touch with the more divine, wild side of you, that freed side of you that's really in touch with nature, that isn't inhibited. Because here, this cat is sweet and innocent and lovely, but a little bit inhibited, right? Like, because normally a cat would want to eat the birds. You could also say that maybe that it's overcome its inhibitions and it's in a state of grace, because with the strength card, we typically think of grace. But I feel like what we're seeing here is because it's coming from this like council, very institutional, very restricted. The 9 of Wands usually shows somebody who's like clinging to a staff or a wand and barely hanging on. It's at like the final countdown, right? And then right after that, we've got this very serene outer picture. But what's hidden underneath this serene outer picture is a lot of feeling like somebody's been through the ringer, and feeling like anger, maybe, having to have needs met, because this cat has its basic needs met. It's not starving, obviously, or it would have eaten the birds, right? But, you know, and here in the distance, in the background, we see a bird drinking from a fountain. That's the water. And it's almost like these cats are even a little bit less inhibited than this cat, because there's no fear of the water. They're enjoying this, right? And it's almost like trying to figure out the difference, because the priest is also symbolic, and we've got like these kind of almost globalist looking symbolism here. There is hieroglyphics and stuff as well, so some very ancient traditional teachings. And even in the background we have the black cat again, being put up on a pedestal. This could be somebody, if you find yourself in a position of either leadership or if not that, then at least responsibility, like a parent. Some kind of responsibility where it's important to meet your responsibilities. But we talked about this in the last reading too, how it's like, what responsibilities are really yours and what are other people's expectations. This, it's like this cat is like, these cats are like more in a position where once they've released those inhibitions and they're not in a state of fear, it's almost like they're feeling more honored, right? That's why we've got the tiger in the background, really tapping into that very regal, wild energy. And this woman in the chariot is being pushed along by somebody who has a lot of respect for her, wants to learn from her. I almost like envision like she's telling her some wisdom and she's like listening and learning as she pushes her along. And we have a waxing crescent here. So it's a beginning of something new, a new chapter. And she would be, because this young girl is starting a new chapter in her life because she's learning from her. And she's going to be starting a new chapter when she passes to the other side of the veil. And we're approaching that season as well. And I almost feel like these two are juxtaposed because this woman is very free, right? Like there's flames coming out of the root of the tree. The night sky is swirling around the moon here. She's almost in this very mystical energy. And with the Two of Pentacles usually representing some kind of balance, it's like, so all of this mystical stuff is going on, but the tree is still there, firmly rooted, right? Some kind of willow or something. So again, we're talking about, again, grounding those dreams into reality, that balancing of the practical and spiritual that came up in the last reading too. It's a bit of a continuation of a theme, but just a slightly different lens, slightly different perspective on it. I like that in the Judgment card here, these two are naked. And in this one, the cat is wearing like a very ornate collar. So you could almost see it. And this one almost looks like it's wearing a collar and a robe. They're clothed. And then this woman is clothed, and this like death being is clothed as well. But these two are completely naked. It's almost vulnerability because they are feeling like they're being stripped bare and they're being judged for everything, not just what they show the world, but their whole self. And yet we have these two koi fish who are symbolic of, peace, unconditional love, uniqueness as well. So it's almost like through the divine eye, because we have a bit of an eye here within the moon, all the things that you think are imperfect to society, that you would be judged for within an institutional or societal context, are not judged as harshly here. And that's what I think the koi fish here symbolize, is that. And we have these two like almost Loch Ness Monster type dragons facing away from it. So right, you might feel like people think you're a bit kooky or weird, right? Because people who believe in Nessie are kooky, weird, conspiracy theory weirdos, right? And yet there's two of them here. So it's, I feel like that's almost symbolic of like you being in a situation where you have some responsibilities. And it's not that you should just neglect all of those responsibilities. Clearly, certain responsibilities have to be taken care of, but not at the expense of feeling like who you are is honored, that you can be in some space in your life that you cultivate privately for yourself at minimum. You can be naked in like the spiritual sense, vulnerable, completely yourself. And, especially for those I used the example of the gay community in the last video, like you might, and I come from that Christian background where a lot of the sacraments and the organized part of that religion has really wonderful things to share, really wonderful methodologies, things that have some kind of purpose that can help you be spiritually disciplined. However, to a point, certain societal restrictions are kind of, I don't think necessarily seeing through the eyes of the divine, but through the eyes of people who have their maladaptive traits, hatred and fear being among them. Fear is a gift from nature to keep us from getting mauled by a predator. It's not supposed to be a chronic part of our lives where we're just constantly under stress of feeling like the people around us who are supposed to, their role in society is to protect and teach and guide us, but they can feel like predators sometimes. And cats are a predator to mice and birds here. I feel like, just seeing, yeah, even in here we have like the tiger going up against this other like griffin type being in the background, and it's almost like these, and then we have like this council, like, okay, what do we do about this? I feel like sometimes that inner spark, that fire, can feel like it gets repressed by people's expectations, sometimes out of fear of this, right? Like, we don't want to let this loose. And obviously we don't. We don't want to be the kind of people who, when we feel angry, we act on exactly the things we think and feel when we're angry. But that doesn't mean our feelings shouldn't be honored. That anger is another gift. It lets you know when something isn't fair, isn't right. It's a matter of tuning into that and really discerning, holding space for that feeling, and figuring out, okay, what can I reasonably do about this? What can I do about this that would be for, you know, my soul's best good? What can I do to lead a happier life, more in alignment with what I actually want? And all of that. At the same time that you say, okay, and how can I do this in a way where I don't inadvertently harm anybody who isn't actually trying to harm me? Because sometimes people are just, you know, they're just doing their role, right? It can be really sad that sometimes the people who feel like they're repressing us the most, and sometimes it's malicious and vindictive. There are cases throughout history, throughout all of human history, where terrible things have happened. But a lot of times it's just people who are going with their program, what they've been given on a societal level, and clinging to that, and, you know, doing what they think is necessary. And you can just end up getting caught in the crossfire. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, how do I get disentangled from that? How do I get disentangled from that? It's almost like the devil energy here is like, okay, I talked about demonizing in the last video as well. Because this snake is up on a cross, almost like it's being martyred in some way, and yet it's trying to, this dragon in the background is free. It's almost like, because serpents are also symbols of wisdom, not just evil, right? It's depending on what cultural context, which myths you look at, and it's like it's pouring something. It can either be pouring poison into the cup, like with the story of Loki hidden under the ground and the snake is dripping venom into the bowl, or it could be more like a snake imparting wisdom, right? Most of the cultures that consider dragons to be a cultural symbol of a protector also tend to see serpents as having some kind of secret wisdom, and like the hissing sound is like them whispering something, like a seer, right? And like being able to tap within and really listen to that whispering voice, because it tends to be quieter than the voices of all of these you should voices around you. I think that's what's going on. And like being able to come to a place where this isn't something that you're doing out of a place of resentment and fear of doing this and you know, being judged or causing harm or being scared of yourself, and really just coming to a place where you're doing it because you're in a state of balance, and you've worked through your emotions, you've honored how you truly feel, and you're able to swim in those feelings without feeling like this. You're able to really work through it. And you do this just because you're in a state of genuine peace. I think, and that comes from really liberating this part of yourself and this part of yourself so that you can get to this in your life eventually, right? That's the goal, right? It's so that you're feeling like, yeah, I've got this. I'm happy in life. It does take working through this, though, working through those karmic chains and seeing what's possible for your life outside of the scope of what I think people sometimes give you, like this limited view of what's possible for you. Okay, so, and I think maybe that's the justice that we're looking for here, is what injustices. This is a really introverted energy, and that's perfect for Mercury retrograde, because we can oftentimes focus on those external injustices, and they exist. They do exist. But the question is, can you get out of that feeling of injustice on an external level without getting past this fear of being judged and getting through the injustices we do to ourselves almost preemptively? Like, I'd rather hurt myself first before somebody else hurts me, so I'm going to repress myself. I'm going to repress my real opinions. I'm going to repress my dreams and what I really want in life just so that I can stay safe. It's like, is it safe to be miserable? A lot of people who are no longer with us on this planet might want to channel and say otherwise. It's not always safe to repress what you truly want and what you really feel, because that is a very depressed, oppressed, and suppressed way of living, and repressed. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and look at the oracle. I keep getting owls lately. Imagination, let your dreams take flight. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it, because that is exactly right. Pisces moon is all about those dreams. Especially full moon is about dreams that are manifested, not just dreams that are beginning, but really that have been culminating for some time. We are all connected, and we've got the 3 air signs here. That breath of life, right? She's breathing out, and it's like the birds are flying through the very same air that she breathes. That's right. So it's about not necessarily, it can be hard sometimes. I'll get some more in a minute. I usually like to get the whole spread, but in this case, I think a specific message is coming through. It can be hard sometimes to compartmentalize when you're feeling a lot like this, right? And I don't think I went too much into the back of the deck for this, but this is, again, almost the same judgment figure that we see in the robe here, or here is here again, but much larger. And we get that scarab beetle of rebirth. It looks like almost a married couple, because she looks like she's wearing a wedding dress and this guy in a top hat. And it's like they're starting a new life together, a rebirth. Even these trees are dead, while the ones in the background are alive. And there's like a dead fallen log here. Really, because we're going from, Virgo to Libra and then Scorpio with the autumn months here. That journey of rebirth, an internal rebirth, I think. And oh my gosh, again with this one. Yeah, for some people, it's going to be about love. With the Ace of Cups here, and that. And then again, in another previous reading, we talked about how this one was walking away from that third, or, the second rider. Well, the third, because there's 2 horses, but there's 3 people mounted. So, yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's going to be about walking away from the opinions of others and doing what's best for you. That might be in a work context. It might be in a family court context. It might be in terms of, okay, maybe other people in my community don't agree with my political opinions because they're more like this and I'm more like this, but I'm going to go ahead and do this activist thing, or whatever it is that you're being called to do, that you feel other people will judge, whether it's a relationship, work related, some kind of higher calling or purpose or cause in life, whatever it is you're worried about. I think it's time to really go towards what matters to you, what you really feel deep in your heart is needed. It can be hard when you're still stuck in that energy of feeling like somebody's trying to get in your way, to see the divine spark in everyone. We're all human beings. We can be taken over by external entities. We can be taken over by our own internal self-corrupting, self-negating, self-toxifying processes in the mind when we are not taking good care of ourselves mentally and spiritually. That's not a judgment on anybody to say, oh, you're an evil, toxic person, but rather to say, sometimes bad things happen when people who are not living from alignment with their soul and conscience are in charge. And we see that playing out on a global level. That's just, calling a spade at this point. It can be hard sometimes to see those people and pray for them. And that might not be what you feel called to do. If you're not ready for that, don't do that. If you're still working through this, honor that process of working through this, because you're not wrong to feel upset when some kind of injustice has happened. But at the end of the day, even people who do terrible things, or who maybe they're not terrible, but they're certainly making your life miserable by standing in your way, they do share that divine spark. There is a potential for them to turn things around. That's not to say try to save them or try to convince them. That's not to say, because we don't see this person interacting with other people. She's interacting with nature. Same here, right? I think the message here isn't so much to try to force the other person, who you are not trying to, let's say you've decided, okay, this person is standing in my way and trying to get in the way of my dreams. Yeah, we should try to encourage the people we know are at least receptive to, you know, be their best selves. But if somebody's just not receptive, they're really devoted to that toxic energy in their life, and you're like, okay, I've got to cut this out, because maybe you're in a workplace situation and you just got a really terrible boss. You're like, for my health and my sake, I can't be in this workplace anymore. I've got to get a different boss. I've got to get a different workplace. Okay, so you move on from that. Maybe in 5-10 years, that person has a wake-up call and decides to learn how to be a better boss. That doesn't mean you wait around for that to happen. You get out now and do what's best for you. But maybe you pray for it. If you feel ready for that, you don't have to. You can be working through this, and you might decide that the person has done you so much harm that you never want to talk to them or think about them again. That's perfectly, you know, valid. You do what you've got to do for your own healing. But what I'm seeing coming through, this is a collective reading. And we do have a waxing crescent again, that ability to be reborn, to start anew, to start a new chapter, to do the right thing going forward. I feel like this is just a reminder that the best way to let go of that bitterness and heal for yourself and have that grace, genuinely grace for yourself, is to be able to acknowledge, yes, this person has done wrong by you, but they are capable on their own journey, while you're not being harmed by them anymore and you get yourself out of there. They are capable of trying to live a better life if they so choose it. And all you can really do is let it go, pray for them, recognize that in some life or in their childhood, there was something good in them. They've probably done something good at some point in their life. We're all nuanced, complex, gray beings. No one is like a primordial being of pure evil or pure good on this planet who's a human being. So see that they have a capacity to do good within them, and hope for it. Maybe not like in the sense of hoping, oh, I want to get that boss back and now I'll finally be treated right in this company and get the respect I always deserved. That might not happen with them. It might happen in a reconciliation with family or a close loved one or a partner. Sometimes if there was no intentional abuse and you're able to work things out. But in some situations, if you're just being exploited or treated horribly, get out of there. Let your dreams take flight, you know, fly away from anything that's killing your dreams. Go with your imagination, your desires, and really try to manifest those. But while you do so, it might help you to be able to manifest this if you're not distracted by the bitterness of just seeing somebody as a demonized version of themselves and only the bad things they've done, and just say, you know, I hope someday they find their peace and they do right by others, and leave it and just release it. I think that is the message coming through here, to try to find a way not to forgive them for their sake, but even if you just forgive them quietly to yourself, for your sake, for your soul's peace. I think that, I know that was a bit of a long-winded explanation, but I understand how it feels to be defensive when somebody tells you to forgive when you're not ready. You don't have to if you're not ready, but I do want to invite you to consider that even if you decide not to have that person around who caused you severe harm, you can forgive that parent, that terrible employer, and you, just for your own sake, see where did they try to go right by you. Maybe if they never really tried to go right, but do something right by you, just see, okay, maybe other people did them wrong and that's why they act like this, and I hope they find their peace someday. You know, really just let them pray that Holy Spirit or whatever you believe in helps to guide their soul and send them signs to help them be better. because they still have a soul somewhere in there. Bright future. That's what I'm talking about. So manifesting that dream, releasing anything that's an eternal blockage for you energetically so that you can get to that future, right? That lantern. This is almost reminding me of the Hermit with the star energy. Hermit following the star. The Chariot also follows the star in the Rider-Waite Tarot. So that's pretty interesting. The darkest hour is just before the dawn. Again, getting rid of all of those toxic things, and then that bright future is able to come in for you. I think that's, actually, I'm just going to go ahead with the back of the deck here. Connect with nature. Yeah, again, I'm seeing that definitely connection. We are all connected, and in nature, connect with nature. So really, that's right. It's honoring the person that is at their core, a child of God, if you want to put it that way, a divine being, a creation of nature, a result of nature, and that there's something good and special within them. You know, I'm seeing the drum here and the owl again. It's like we all have that internal wisdom. We see the waxing moon, somebody coming to the end of their karmic cycles. And the drum here is almost like the heartbeat. We all have a heartbeat, right? We all bleed red blood, you know. It's just, I think that's what the message is here, is really being able to, even if you are completely justified in feeling upset about something, being able to see the bigger picture while at the same time honoring your own zoomed in personal experience, finding the balance between that. That's the balance with justice in this case. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the bones now. And then finish up with the Moonology. Let's see what Holy Spirit wants to say about this. Mercury retrograde and full moon in Pisces transit. Let me see what's felt something kind of do a tingle on my finger and I don't know what it was. This again. Oh, wow. Has this happened before? I feel like this has happened before. I don't know if it was a public reading or a private one. Huh, what is that? Oh, okay. Okay, so we have two teeth here. This one is a fang. I think it's a wolf's fang. And this one is a bull shark tooth. This is a rib. I think it's like a muskrat's. There was a broken one I saw earlier. This one's... Okay, so interestingly, so earlier when I was like shuffling it, making sure it's well shuffled and everything, I saw a short rib, and that you could see the marrow when you turn it on its side, all browned and everything, from like a broken rib, which considering that rib would be near the heart and lungs, I was like, okay, symbolic of a broken heart. And this is a whole one. So I feel like this process of really being able to heal is almost like taking a broken heart and making it whole again. Finding that balance between finding your teeth to stand up for yourself without feeling like you're losing balance. I think that this is a toe bone. This one is a little bit broken too, I think, of a smaller animal. And again, it's like being able to find your teeth while remaining grounded. So yeah, that's what I think this is about. And interestingly, we have like this more independent creature that doesn't really sleep, constantly stays in motion. And then this pack animal. And this one goes through like the depths of the water, right? Of the ocean. So that's like a symbolic of really diving into that subconscious again, like that Mercury retrograde energy, that subconscious mind, the deeper feelings, your shadow side, how you, some of the not pleasant, not appropriate feelings. All your feelings are perfectly appropriate. You're allowed to feel however you feel. It's just a matter of acting on them in a way that's healthy for you and working through them, going inward and working through them on a way that's healthy for you. We don't all always act perfectly gracefully. Sometimes we need to acknowledge how we really feel so that those things don't bottle up and then explode. I'm not an expert on knowing how to do that at all times, but I do my best. I think we all do our best, and it's about not judging ourselves too harshly, that sometimes when we're feeling hurt, we don't always act gracefully. When somebody else is feeling hurt, they might hurt us. And just kind of finding the grace to say, yeah, life is hard sometimes. How am I going to get through it in a way that lets me find my own happiness? So yeah, your heart feeling whole again. And I feel like finding your pack or tribe where you feel like you can defend yourself, where you feel like you are defended, and you don't have to use your teeth in a vicious way, where you don't feel shaken very deeply by these emotions. Oh God, we have the Tower underneath that too. So yeah. And then being grounded. Also, we had that, where was it? That tree, grounding those dreams into reality. The teeth are also in the head, where you're thinking, where your dreams or your imagination is. So taking those thoughts and really grounding them, really speaking them, to obviously careful not to speak it to somebody who has vindictive intentions towards you, but speaking them to people who could really help. So that way you're not just, or at least writing them down, doing something so that you're acknowledging them and not just keeping them to yourself. And then one day you go, oh God, that's just a silly dream, and sweep it back under the rug. Really being able to hold yourself accountable to say, no, this is what I really want. And that sometimes really helps quite a bit. So really grounding that, those dreams, finding that balance between having that whole heart that comes from serenity and peace and working through these emotions, and not being too afraid to stand up for yourself within reason. Obviously, you don't want to bite somebody's head off, but it's okay to bare your teeth sometimes if somebody's crossing a serious line, right? I think sometimes people are afraid not to be perfectly gentle at all times. You don't want to cause other people harm, but you don't have to be a wallflower. I think that can be some of that more animalistic side within ourselves. That archetype sometimes wants to come forward. You know, the pack structure isn't stable unless it has that ability for the pack members to hash it out sometimes, and work through their feelings. Okay, I think that's Moonology. Almost forgot. Are we gonna do the I almost forgot song again? I almost forgot. I tried not to knock over the bones here while I'm shuffling, but I guess I can do it with this one. Ooh, yeah, that was a terrific shuffle. And what do we have for this Mercury retrograde coming up? And full moon in Pisces. Again, with the waxing moon, the energy is gaining momentum. Again, I'm getting very much this feeling of, we talked last time how, like, with the beginning of this season of Azure Flame Tarot, I feel like the first, the chapter being entered into is really going to culminate. You're going to start seeing it manifesting more fully towards that November 8th eclipse, and maybe a little bit towards the end of Scorpio season. That's what I think. So it's culminating now, and we're getting, okay. New moon in Pisces, interesting. Meditate and contemplate. We just had I think we had this show up in the last reading too, maybe. We had, or it was full moon in Pisces. Right, so we had full moon in Pisces show up in the last reading during the new moon in Virgo, and now we've got the new moon in Pisces during this one. So it's almost like it was kind of projecting a bit, predicting that, I think that's what I'm meditating and contemplating on, is how that spread really kind of predicted how these two, this last reading and this one, we're going to match up quite a fair bit. It's pretty different from the Lionsgate reading we did, but it's still, there's a bit of a theme going on here, heading towards the end of the season. Have faith in your dreams. Again, so much about the dreams and that waxing energy. So much about the dreams and the waxing energy coming through, and that's very, luck is on your side. New moon in Sagittarius, and Pisces and Sagittarius were both classically ruled by Jupiter, and now Pisces is, with the discovery of Neptune, co-ruled by Neptune as well. And then we have prosperity lies ahead, new moon in Taurus. I feel like that was also a beginning energy, and the first season that we did. And I love how we have these purple flowers, this purple energy. That's so much about the this purpley indigo look. That's your third eye, crown chakra. I think we're getting a lot of throat, higher heart, third eye, crown activations. And then we get this red orangey color. Luck is on your side, new moon in Sagittarius. A lot of people have been needing to make sure that all their chakras are balanced during this time while we're getting these activations, because we're having a very mercurial transit, right? Mercury retrograde is going to be going into a sign ruled by Mercury towards the end of the retrograde, before it stations direct. And I think that because there's going to be so much going on in the upper chakras, the head space, the upper heart, the spiritual downloads probably coming in dreams with all this purple here, or like intuitive flashes of insight. It's going to be important to really ground and take care of your physical health and well-being, get enough sleep, eat well, drink plenty of water, spend time in nature, maybe even some drumming, things that really connect you to your heartbeat, some kind of relaxing but healthy exercise like yoga or dance, something that really makes you feel creative but grounds you. I think that will help a lot for a lot of people while you're going through this process of figuring out how to overcome where you have felt injustice, going through clearing out your shadow aspects, working through your own shadow work, and manifesting your own dreams. There's going to be some activations coming in, some insights. Some of them are going to be very beautiful and sweet. Some of them might be hard pills to swallow. And it's going to help a lot to have that grounding energy. I like how we've got luck is on your side. I feel like after this, again, I'm seeing, even though it says new moon in Sagittarius, take out your calendar and see if that particular date feels relevant for you. But I feel like for a lot of people, the eclipse coming up in November is going to be the target time frame for when a lot of what's going on right now is going to really come to a crux. And something is going to manifest. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's the thing. And with Sagittarius, we're talking again about Sagittarius has a very Jupiter-like, joyful, childlike demeanor, but it is also that grandfatherly Jupiter-Zeus energy. It's that balance of that maturity, responsibilities, and following your dreams. So that's that dual sign, again, containing those opposites within it, because Sagittarius's opposite is Gemini, the twins, the twin children. So, yeah, I think that's being able to see both sides of yourself, seeing the multidimensionality of others, being able to work through your shadow side, your subconscious, downloads and dreams, grounding. That's like your summary there. I think that's all I've got for tonight. You guys have a great rest of your Virgo season, and I will be doing another video for the spring equinox. Love you guys.